the NBA playoffs could be shifting in a major way as we have tons of injuries or injury returns that could really shape the direction of where those series are going, including Joel Embiid, which is one that we don't know what's going to happen, Jalen Williams, which is another one. We're going to talk about those, plus what's going on with Karl-Anthony Towns and his future with the New York Knicks. All that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Show, our NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so we got news on Joel Embiid, right? He's on officially return watch for this series. He has apparently made a significant step towards returning during the Celtics playoff series against the 76ers. The question is there going to be enough runway when he does return? Now, it's not clear yet. He still is not fully practicing yet, but it is clear that the medical staff is being careful with him, but he is starting to do some things. He's gotten a few reps in, making those steps towards there. He's doing conditioning drills and workouts. This one comes from Nick Nurse that says this. I think we're going to know a lot more probably by the end of today where he is. He wants to play, and we want him to play. I don't know how close we are to that at this point, but there is some progress being made. I want to be clear. Joel Embiid makes a big difference in this series, which is now tied 1-1, by the way, so far in this series. The question is can the Philadelphia 76ers win at least another game to push the series to at least 6 games, which gives Joel Embiid a really good chance to return back at that time? That's a question that's going to remain here for this Philadelphia 76ers team. And listen, we don't have the answers for it yet. We don't know, right? So, it could be clear, especially with Joel Embiid and his injury history, that he just does not make it back in time to be able to make an impact in this series at all. I want to be clear. That is a very big chance of this. But with the Philadelphia 76ers not taking the court again until Friday, which is tomorrow, which is game 3, if the Sixers can win one of these games at home to push the series to 6 games, that gives it the best opportunity for Joel Embiid to come back, right? Now, does that drastically change a lot with this series? We shall see, right? It really comes down in the series to Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, how many big explosion games. They combined for almost 60 points in the last game, and they got a pretty decent, output from Paul George as well. If they're able to continue, that type of run and give more games like that over at least the next 2 games, you never know. I know that Joel Embiid his health has been a big thing. And I've said for about a year now that I think the Philadelphia 76ers should be, one of those teams that try to build their team up to be great without Joel Embiid, good to great without Joel Embiid, and then take advantage of when he's able to be healthy, that it really helps kind of bring you over the top a little bit more, right? I think that's the best thing that you can hope for Joel Embiid at this time. You're looking at it, he hasn't played over 60 games since 2022-2023 season. That's 3 straight seasons where he's played less than 40 games in each of the last 3 seasons. So, it's a tall task to expect or to ask Joel Embiid to be 100% healthy for the majority of a season, but can he come back and be healthy? We've never really seen Joel Embiid fully healthy for a playoff run. He did average 27 points, 7.7 rebounds, 4 assists, and he did that on 48% shooting from the field, almost 49%, and 33% shooting from 3. He also averaged 1.2 blocks per game. That can definitely help this 76ers team against a Boston Celtics team that's a little bit weak in the front court at times, right? At that center position. So, I'm sure the 76ers are hoping they're going to be able to get Joel back sooner rather than later because he definitely helps them. Now, I would say even with Joel Embiid coming back, considering the time he's missed and will even play, there's no back-to-backs in playoff series, but, how many games is he going to realistically come back to play? But it could shift the dynamic if the 76ers are able to win one game. And if the 76ers can win both games at home as the series shifts back to Philly or to Philly for the first time in the series, it really becomes anything when it comes down to it. So he is practicing again. There is limited reps. There's no official timeline on his return yet. So I want to be clear there, but he is trending up as it stands right now. And him getting back, man, could be huge. Now, the question, of course, is, is the medical staff is going to play it safe with Joel Embiid? They're not going to risk anything long-term for a playoff series where they're probably going to be outgunned anyway. But, we'll see what happens there. And, just for the sake of the entertainment part of it, I do hope that Joel Embiid can get back out. Keep in mind, this is a guy that had a whole side of his face completely numb and still put up almost 40 on a team, right? So, like, we know that Joel Embiid is capable of the big performances, and this team has more depth now than I think what it ever had. If you get Joel Embiid back, and even if you can only play him 20 to 25 minutes per game, that does make a difference in a series like this. So I want to hear from you guys down below on this one. With Joel Embiid ramping back up and getting ready to try to make a return in the playoffs for the Philadelphia 76ers, is it enough for the 76ers to really make an impact and possibly win this series against the Boston Celtics? Like I said, you gotta hope they're going to win one of these at home. If they don't, it may all be for naught. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, let's get to the next big man that we got to talk about, and that's Wemby, right? Wemby, as we all know, is in concussion protocol. You know, he did that in game 2. Only played, 12 minutes in that game. The Spurs end up losing that game. They're going to need more from De'Aaron Fox. But with that said, the timeline does not rule Wemby out for making a return sooner rather than later. And apparently, he is going to be traveling with the team as the series shifts to Portland. And the question now becomes about, can Wemby get back out on the court, or when is he going to get back out the court? There's no doubt he's going to get back out there, right? But this one came from Mitch Johnson, who updated reporters as of Thursday. This just came out today, said this. He looks good. The update is that he is following the league's protocol and he's progressing, and he will travel with the team. We'll keep going through the protocol, and hopefully he continues to progress. It's pretty straightforward. Obviously, we hope he'll be back at some point, but we will allow the protocol to play out, and there's nothing more important than his health. And so, when you look at the NBA's concussion protocol, it is going to sit him down for a while, right? And, if he's able to clear it by Friday, which it is still up in the air that he can, we'll see, right? He could be cleared within the next 24 hours. The league's concussion protocol guidelines, a player's place in protocol may not begin the return to participation exertion process until 24 hours after the time of injury. Wemby began movement, exercises, and light individual conditioning work on Wednesday night. So we'll see, right? There are several steps that he's going to have to be. He's going to have to increase the exertion when it comes down for it. He's going to have to get on a stationary bike. He's going to have to do some agility work, go through a non-contact team drill, all before he can return. The question when it comes down to the Spurs is, like, do they feel confident they can win this series without Wemby? Because there's no need to rush him back in a series like this if you feel confident. Now, the Spurs are a very deep team, right? But the Portland Trail Blazers are a team that's young, and sometimes those young teams, they don't give a damn. They don't know enough not, to be worried about it when it comes down to it, and that could be the case in this. Luckily the Spurs, they do not play today, so you get an additional day, and then you get to go into, the next set of games and then hope that you can get them cleared by Friday when they go to Portland and the series goes there. With them already making the progress and it even being a chance that he return Friday, it puts him in a good situation to hopefully be able to return by, game 4, which goes down on Sunday in Portland again at 3:30 p.m. So I'm sure the Spurs are hoping to get back out there. He looked so good in his first playoff game. You just can't take away from that. But at the same time, the Spurs are fighting for something more. And you have to trust your team. You have to trust your depth. And guys understand the seriousness of the moment. It's a lot different, in my opinion, when you lose a guy in the middle of a game. When you have to prepare for a game knowing you're going to be without that guy, it kind of changes the game plan and the mentality around it as well. So the Spurs are in the right to not rush him back at all. Just don't rush him back. Now, if the Blazers somehow win this first game in Portland, I do think the momentum could shift a little bit. The Spurs are going to come out here and want to do it for Wemby in game 3, right? But if they lose game 3, I worry about what that does to them in the psychological aspect for game 4. It could be nothing, but it could be something to watch out for as well. But then when Wemby returns, you can immediately, that can flip to the other direction, right? So, this is a team now for the Portland Trail Blazers where, you have Donovan Clingan, who hasn't done a lot offensively. Maybe he can do a little bit more now, not have to exert that energy to guard Wemby. So we'll see what happens there. This is a scrappy Portland team, but this is also a deep, well-coached, not to say the Portland's not well-coached, they're well-coached also, well-coached Spurs team that just knows what they're doing, and they go about their business in the right way, right? So it comes down to how Portland really deals with this, and they come out here in the seriousness with it, but we're going to see how it comes down to it. Overall, I'll say this. Don't count out the Portland Trail Blazers, especially in the games without Wemby, but once Wemby comes back, it's going to be a tall, literally, pun intended, tall test there to see what they can do against the San Antonio Spurs. But let me know what you guys think down below. With that said, this one just got announced before I started recording here, is that Jalen Williams, which was initially looked at as an injury that may not be that serious, is going to be out for a while with this hamstring injury. Apparently, he could be week to week. So that means that the OKC Thunder, which are still one of the deepest teams in the league, could have to go a while without having their number 2 guy in well, it depends on how you look at it in Chet, but Jalen Williams is hugely important to that team. On both sides of the ball, he brings that importance to this team. And so not having him does make a difference and does shift some things, right? So, this is an OKC Thunder team that, is facing off against the Phoenix Suns, and they're a really deep team, and it's going to be difficult for the Suns to get a win against OKC, even with the series shifting to Phoenix. And so, you have to have enough confidence to feel like they're going to be able to get it done without it. And this is OKC. They've won games by historic margin with or without their stars before, so you can't count them out. And in no way am I saying that all of a sudden now this shifts it to where, the OKC Thunder are now on their heels or something like that. Not crazy enough to say that, because that's not the case. But I do think when it comes down to it, in regards to this, is that you now have to look at this, and everything is about momentum, right? It's about momentum with this one. Do they lose any momentum with Jalen Williams being out, right? And Sham's exact tweet was this. Thunder's Jalen Williams has sustained a grade 1 left hamstring strain and will be reevaluated on a weekly basis. So that's a pretty significant injury there. And how this shifts that series, it's not too worried about on this one, but, and not to disrespect the Suns, because the Suns have been a fun team to watch this season, one of my league pass teams, actually. But I look at this and say that, SGA is going to have to step up huge, and they're going to need other players to step up, which the Thunder have done all season long. But OKC is still very much so the favorites in the series, regardless if Jalen Williams is playing or not. The depth gives them that advantage, and that is how they've rocked this thing out for the last 2 seasons. Their depth gives them so much advantage that it just, for an inferior, at least in this round 1, you still got to have the Thunder there. So let me know what you guys think of this. Do you think this actually shifts the series any for the OKC Thunder versus the Sun? Do you think this gives the Suns a little bit of angle there to maybe steal a game or two and make this a more interesting series? Because it was definitely on path to be a sweep, probably by the OKC Thunder on the Suns. But I still just look at the Suns. They're too well coached. They're too deep. Their defense is too exciting. And they just create so much in the margin. Like they give opposite teams not really having any margin of error at all. And that's the way they're able to snuff out these teams. And I just don't see that changing against this Phoenix Suns team. In round 2, that's where it can get very much so it can be detrimental. So if I am the OKC Thunder, I'm playing this very safe because I need J. Will back as we go on. We may be okay in round 1, but as this goes on, we're going to need him at 100%, and we don't want to take the chance of this being re-aggravated and turning into something else later on in the series, at least in my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, let's get into this last topic of the day, and this one's about Karl-Anthony Towns, right? There's been some now speculation that if the Knicks receive a early, playoff exit, that Karl-Anthony Towns could be traded. And we'll see what happens in that one. That rumor's always going to be around there. But Vincent Goodwill said this. He so badly wants things to work out here. He wants to be a Knick for life. People say that a lot, but I know this. James Dolan loves Towns. Goodwin also reported that the Knicks did have a chance to extend Towns before the 25-26 season, but opted to wait. Towns, according to the sources, wanted a new deal, but didn't expect one to come this season. So, the Knicks are sitting in a spot where they have a very high salary, right? And they don't have a lot of movement to add things to the roster because of where they are in the salary cap and the rules with the second tax apron and all that type of stuff. They've done some really good work to avoid that second tax apron. But the question becomes about if this does turn into an early exit for the New York Knicks, is the disappointment going to lead them to feel like they need to make a big swing and I think or a big trade and alter their roster? They've already changed the coach, but they changed the roster now. And I look at it like this. Karl-Anthony Towns has 2 more seasons left on his contract, that last one being a player option, which he's likely to pick up, especially with no extension being done yet. Now, he could opt out so they can extend whatever it comes down to this. But you got to look at this, right? The Knicks have $3 million scheduled beneath the first tax apron, right? They're $93 million over the salary cap. That's just the reality of it, right? And so, the fact that they've been able to tiptoe that line enough, but they'll be over that. Jose Alvarado has a player option for $4.5 million. If he picks that up, which is probably likely, they're immediately going over the first tax apron, which completely, takes away a lot of the flexibility that they have. So the Knicks, I do think, one way or another, unless it ends in a finals run for them, they're probably going to have to make a significant change to the roster. You have $20 million with Josh Hart. He's expiring next season. $33 million with Mikal Bridges. He has 3 years left on his contract after this season, right? Jalen Brunson ain't going anywhere. Karl-Anthony Towns is, may go somewhere. We'll see. OG Anunoby has $42 million and $45 million the season after that. So, you have those huge contracts, and we've just seen in the NBA, when you have that many large contracts above $30 million, eventually something got to give, especially if you're not winning at the level that you want to. Could that be the New York Knicks? I guess we'll see. But I want to hear from you guys on this one down below, right? Before we get out of here, injuries are stacking up. Returns could be happening. Are the 76ers done, or do you give them a chance if they can win another game and Embiid comes back? What do you guys think? And also, should the Spurs sit Wemby no matter what, just to make sure he's fully healthy before even stepping back out on that court? And then what do you think happens with Jalen Williams and the OKC Thunder? Let me know what you guys think on all of that down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything everything NBA basketball related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Maybe tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Break Media.